When my girlfriend Lena invited me to her best friend's wedding, I thought it was going to be one of those happy, romantic nights where we'd dance, laugh, and maybe even imagine our own future together. We'd been dating for almost a year, and things felt right. She was charming, ambitious, and the kind of woman who could walk into a room and make everyone turn their head. The wedding was out of town, held at a beautiful countryside venue. White roses, fairy lights, and music that made you forget your worries. On the drive there, Lena seemed unusually nervous, checking her phone constantly and reapplying lipstick every few minutes. When I asked if everything was okay, she smiled and said, "Just want to make a good impression. Everyone from college will be there." When we arrived, she immediately led me around, introducing me to people I'd never met, old classmates, mutual friends, and even her ex-professor. She kept saying, "This is Ethan, my boyfriend," emphasizing the word as if she wanted to prove something. I didn't think much of it then. As the evening went on, I noticed something strange. A man, tall, confident, wearing a dark blue suit, kept glancing our way. Every time Lena saw him, her smile faltered for just a moment before she quickly looked away. When I asked who he was, she said too quickly, "Oh, just someone I used to know." We were seated for dinner, and the man ended up at our table. His name was Caleb, apparently an old college friend of hers. The tension between them was so obvious that even the other guests seemed to feel it. He raised a glass and joked, "So, Lena, you finally brought someone who can keep up with you?" She laughed awkwardly, but her eyes didn't meet mine. Later that night, during the first dance, the couple took the floor, and soon everyone was invited to join in. Lena took my hand and pulled me close. For a moment, everything felt perfect. The soft lights, the music, the way she smiled when I whispered something stupid in her ear. I thought this was one of those memories I'd carry forever. But then, as the next song began, she turned suddenly and said, "I'll be right back, okay?" She disappeared into the crowd. I watched her walk away, straight toward Caleb. They moved outside onto the patio, where the glass doors reflected the golden light of the ballroom. I could see them talking, her hands gesturing nervously, his expression serious. My chest tightened. Something was wrong. I told myself not to jump to conclusions, but after 10 minutes of her not returning, I walked out there. I stayed hidden behind one of the pillars, close enough to hear. "Caleb, please," she said in a low voice. "This isn't the time." He replied, "You told me you still loved me. That's why you came here, right? To make me jealous." Her face was pale. "I didn't mean it like that," she whispered. My stomach dropped. I froze where I stood, every word cutting deeper. "So this guy," Caleb continued, "what is he?" "A distraction." Lena didn't answer. She just looked down, and the silence was loud enough to break something inside me. I stepped forward then, unable to hold it in any longer. "Guess I'm more of a prop than a date, huh?" I said, my voice shaking slightly. Lena spun around, her eyes wide. "Ethan, wait. I can explain." Caleb smirked and walked away, leaving the two of us standing there under the cold string lights. "Explain what?" I asked quietly. "That you brought me here to prove something to your ex? That this whole night was just a show?" Tears filled her eyes, but I didn't want to hear another word. I turned and walked back into the hall, the music suddenly sounding hollow, the laughter around me feeling fake. She followed me, whispering, "Ethan, please, it's not like that." I just wanted him to see I'd moved on. I didn't think. "Yeah," I said bitterly, "you didn't think. You just used me." I left the wedding early that night, driving home alone under the pale moonlight. She called me several times, but I didn't answer. The next day, she showed up at my apartment, makeup smeared, eyes red from crying. "I made a mistake," she said softly. "You're the one I care about." But when someone shows you that love is a performance, it's hard to believe the script again. It's been a year since that night. I've moved on, but every time I hear a wedding song, I remember that dance, the one that started with a smile and ended in silence. And I've learned something important. Sometimes, you don't realize you're part of someone else's story until you see how it ends.